Douglas Allen Bickford. It is the 1st of August 2022 at about 7:45 a.m. here in Klamath Falls, Oregon, my hometown. Broadcasting live out of my 105-year-old house here. I am a self-taught psychiatrist, therapist, and counselor. I have studied the science of the mind, thousands of hours of how the brain functions. I know what I'm talking about. I don't have the degree, but I have all the knowledge, okay, how the brain functions, and I can help you out there. I specialize in emotional, physical, and sexual abuse victims because I'm one. It happened to me when I was a child, and then my whole life I lived all the way up with all that pain and guilt until I was 65 years old. And it affected my whole life. It was a terrible life, but not no more. I've learned how to heal myself by all my study of how the brain works, okay? And I can also help you out there. There's absolutely only one way to attain and maintain, to get a healthy mind, okay? And that's to attain and maintain a thing called self-esteem. It comes out of this book right here called The Portable Therapist. What self-esteem is, it's how you feel about yourself inside. It's also known as self-confidence, self-worth, self-love, right? We've all been in romantic relationships. You know, when you first meet that person, that good feeling you have when you're bragging to all your family and friends, your soulmate, you're going to die together, you're never going to separate, you're telling everybody all of this stuff. Both of you are. You've got that same good feeling, right? Well, what self-esteem is that good feeling towards yourself. Dr. Susanna McMahon wrote the book, The Portable Therapist, 30 years ago. It was published in 1992. Has a doctorate in psychology. She also has a master's in philosophy. Has had thousands of clients as a therapist, a counselor, a psychiatrist. People would hire her and pay her big bucks to help them fix their unhealthy minds. She knew nobody was teaching self-esteem back then. In fact, every lesson in this book talks about how we've been trained and taught not to have self-esteem, not to have a healthy mind. So anyway, she knew she had to come up with a concept to get her clients to give themselves self-esteem before she could help them fix their unhealthy minds. Here's that very simple concept. It's called mirror therapy. You look at yourself in the mirror and you say 4 things. We are all in front of the mirror every day anyway. And when we get older, we want to think or say bad things about ourselves because we're imperfect. Anyway, here's the 4 things that she told her clients to do. Say, I love you. I love my inner child. I'm worthy to be loved. I'm worthy to love. I'm full of goodness. Those 4 things to yourself in the mirror daily will instantaneously give you self-esteem. But to maintain that self-esteem, you have to practice it. It's like lifting weights. You start lifting weights, you stop, you have to start over from scratch. So you'll have to plan on saying that to yourself the rest of your life in front of the mirror instead of criticizing yourself, folks. It'll take you less than 10 seconds. I love Douglas Allen Bickford. I love my inner child. I'm worthy to be loved. I'm worthy to love. I'm full of goodness. That's how simple it is. But, excuse me. The reason mirror therapy is so powerful is a psychological event happens in our brain. We can't look dead straight in our face and lie to ourselves in the mirror. You can't say something to yourself in your face, in the mirror, that you don't believe. You can very easily criticize yourself when you get in front of the mirror, because that's what you believe about yourself because of all our training. It comes to the television, and so now it's the social media and all that. So you can't say good things to yourself in the mirror, and those 4 things are a very good thing to say to yourself in the mirror daily, because you don't believe it about yourself. Okay? So the very first time you do it, folks, you'll have to force yourself to do it. And it is that simple to attain and maintain self-esteem. So the very first time you say it, it's going to feel very, very, very strange and awkward. In fact, you're not going to want to do it. It's going to feel so weird, right? You want to turn me off because I tell you that. But put down your defense mechanisms and say it anyway. The more you say it, the more you feel it, the more you believe it. Here is why it is so vital to have self-esteem as a human being. It's actually the absolute most important thing you can have. As a human being, you got to wonder why nobody's teaching you how to get it. Because they don't want us to have it. That's why. For many reasons. One of the reasons is people that don't have self-esteem will go join the military and they'll go kill people for the government. That's just one of the reasons they don't want us to have self-esteem. Because, and I was in the military, I didn't have self-esteem when I went in. I got it now. I was never put to that test, okay? I don't know if I'd have done it or not. Just because I was ordered to kill somebody. I mean, people commit suicide because of that. But anyway, you can't be content without self-esteem, which means you feel good about how, where, and what you are. It's also known as internal peace. There are 11 things that people are using to try to be content. They are all the social media, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and all the rest of them. They are drugs, alcohol, sex, food, gambling, television, religion, material possessions, or money. Those 11 things are known as externals. They are outside of yourself. They will make you feel good temporarily, but they will never ever make you permanently content and give you internal peace. Just think about the drug high, right? It always goes away, and you have to do more to get the same feel good. Alcohol, exactly the same thing. That warm, fuzzy feeling goes away, so you have to do more alcohol to get the same feel good. And then the other 9 things are exactly the same thing. I can just go down the line. Every one of those things is always temporary. Feel good, contentness, get peace by it, but it's never lasts. The absolute only thing that will give you internal peace is to say 4 things to yourself in the mirror daily for the rest of your life. No matter how it makes you feel, do it anyway. Like I said, the more you feel it, the more you say it, the more you feel it, the more you believe it. The next reason it is so vital as a human being to have self-esteem is we can't love without it, and we can't be loved. So what happens is 2 people without self-esteem will attract each other. You attract exactly what you are. If you have self-esteem, you'll attract somebody with it. If you don't have self-esteem, you'll attract somebody without it. So after the good feeling goes away, when you move in and you marry him, you don't marry him, whatever, you move in, all the everyday drama starts happening, you have children, you get tired of each other. And that's when the relationship turns toxic. All the cheating, the arguing, the calling each other names, getting in the car, going down the road, trying to get away from the maniac. Well, people are doing the same thing. Going to your family and friends, telling everybody how terrible these people are to you. And then ultimately what happens is you divorce or separate, right? And then the same 2 people will go jump back in another one, trying to find another, trying to get that good feeling back. And the exact same thing will happen because you jumped in another one without self-esteem. That's why you've been married more than once. That's why you've had many failed relationships. That's why I've been married 4 times and had many failed relationships. The next thing that'll happen in 2 that got together with no self-esteem is you'll stay in that relationship forever. Even though both people know it's bad, you sleep in separate bedrooms, the sex is gone, the fights and the arguments continue, the little innuendos, and then all the emotional, sexual, and physical abuse that happened between those 2 and their children all gets swept under the rug, and then it becomes a dysfunctional family at that point. And dysfunctional families create more dysfunctional families down the line. And then the cycle just continues. The very last thing that will happen with 2 that got together with no self-esteem is the 2 that's had many failed relationships and many failed marriages will just exit out of the romantic scene and just say, screw it, I'm done. I can't find anybody to love me. I can't find anybody to love. I'm just going to be alone for the rest of their lives. And they'll be just as miserable alone as they were in the relationship. And they'll use the 11 things to try to be content, happy. But you can't be content. You can't get internal peace until you attain and maintain self-esteem. Buy the 4 things to yourself in the mirror. But there's a cure. There's a fix for everything I just described. The 4 things to yourself in the mirror daily for the rest of your life, all parties involved, whether you're in a toxic relationship, whether you're alone, and then get the book, The Portable Therapist, and go through the many other concepts in this book. If you're in a toxic relationship together, it'll heal your marriage or your relationship. And if you're all alone, it'll heal you, and you'll be able to live alone. And you'll be able to attain and maintain eternal peace, self-esteem. And it'll fix you, and then you won't be lonely anymore. Then you'll be happy with who, where, and what you are. Okay? So, that's everything that happens with 2 people that get involved in no self-esteem. There's absolutely only one way to get yourself in a healthy relationship, and that's to attain and maintain self-esteem, to love yourself first before you ever get in a relationship. So I'm going through this book 1 lesson at a time. Here's that next lesson. Lesson 73. What can I do when others hate me? This question is in many ways the converse of the previous one, which was the last lesson. Why do I hate? There are some similarities with the previous answer. Others hate us when we hurt them, withhold something they need or want from them, inflict pain upon them, and victimize them. People tend to hate us when they perceive us as evil or ignorant or sick. Frequently, people hate us for the weakness that we show, and they fear within themselves, or they hate us for our strengths which they feel they lack. Sometimes people hate us for no apparent reason. There's one major difference between hating and being hated. We can learn from being hated. We can use the fact that we are hated to produce change in ourselves, and we can become aware of our behaviors and their effects upon others by focusing on why we are hated. If we accept the fact that we are hated, then we can consider what we want to do about this hatred. We can ask ourselves how we feel about ourselves and whether or not we feel that we deserve the reaction from them. If we can acknowledge and accept that we are doing harm to someone else, then we can choose to change our behaviors. When we begin to recognize our own insecurities that are driving us to the illusions of having power and control over others, we can learn why we feel the need to place others in one down or victim position. We can begin to understand why we are being discouraging and destructive. Once we can objectively accept that what we are doing is harmful, then we can choose to change. And that word choose is huge, because you can all choose to change. You can all choose to say 4 things to yourself in there daily without fail. We can not begin the change process when we are involved in denial, defenses, justifications, and externalizations. We can indeed learn more from our enemies than we can do from our friends. We can let our enemies, those who hate us, become our teachers and our challenges to positive growth. Suppose, excuse me. Suppose that we focus on our behaviors and we feel good about what we are doing and do not recognize the need for change. In this case, we feel that we do not deserve the hatred and there is nothing we can learn from it. Just like me, if you hate me for telling you to say I love you in the mirror, I'm not doing nothing wrong. I'm trying to help you. Or for doing what I'm doing here on Facebook and YouTube. I'm not doing anything wrong but trying to help you folks out there. So I have nothing to apologize for. And I'm going to keep doing what I do. Because I have self-esteem now. I'm trying to get you to have the same thing I have, which is internal peace. In this case, we feel that we do not deserve the hatred and there is nothing we can do. We can learn from it. Again, accepting that we are okay and that the world is not fair will help us deal with the injustice of being hated. And I have accepted all that. That's part of the healthy mind, getting healthy-minded. Just as we have the choice and responsibility for our own hatred, so do others. If we really are doing the best we can, and we are not deliberately trying to cause harm or to victimize someone else, and if our consciences are clear, then we do not have to spend our time and energy worrying about others' hatred. It is really their problem and responsibility to deal with, and we do not want to become victims to those who perceive themselves as our victims. This will create a lose-lose cycle for everyone. I've done all this stuff, folks. That's what you have to do to get a healthy mind. Self-esteem means dealing with the reality that we cause pain. That's one of the very first things I learned. And I've learned, and you can all learn how to deal with that too. That we cause pain to others. We cannot fill others' needs, and we cannot take care of them in ways that they would like us to. We cannot take responsibility for them unless they are the exception, small children, the sick and the handicapped, animals, and the real victims of the world. People who lack self-esteem will hate us for not engaging in the weak ego with them. We can accept this and let it go. We cannot become people pleasers because we are afraid of being hated. Paradoxically, people pleasers are more hated than those who practice self-esteem. The hatred belongs to the person who feels it. The best we can do is to trust ourselves, check our consciences, and how we feel about ourselves. Change our destructive patterns towards others as much as we can, and let go of their hatred. We can learn to be loving, first to ourselves, and then towards others. And in this way, we will generate less hatred and more love in the world. Wow. That's a very powerful lesson for you folks. I'm going to have another one for you tomorrow, which is lesson 74. When do I know it is time to leave the toxic relationship? Like I said, I am self-taught psychiatrist, therapist, counselor. I can help you. Call me to schedule your very first session. 1 hour sessions 4 times a month. And I can help you. I specialize in emotional, sexual, and physical abuse. There's billions of people that have had those things happen to them, folks. Because I am a victim of it. My parents did it to me. My whole life I lived up the guilt and the shame and all that, never knowing why I could never talk about it. And you can all heal too. I taught myself how to heal myself. I can teach you how to heal yourself. 458-232-5238, 458-232-5238. Call me anytime to schedule your first session. Y'all have a great Monday out there. I'll be talking to you tomorrow.